So today we have with us Dr. Shrunga Tejasvi, who is working as clinical postdoctoral fellow at NIMHANS, Bangalore. She also has completed her MD in radio diagnostic, popularly called as radiology, right? So, Dr. Shrunga, welcome to National Dynamic Medical Students Summit.
Thank you, Dr. Sajjan.
Right. So, Dr. Shrunga, so the entire intention of this particular summit is to give an overview for the students regarding each specialties. In this particular case, we'll be discussing more into radiology, or popular, specifically called as radio diagnostics, right? So what we want to know is more a straightforward picture, a practical aspects of radiology, and see how the life of a radiologist is and what it takes to be a radiologist, okay, or specifically radio diagnostics. So that's what you corrected me for. We can also discuss on that because a lot of names are also available in terms of radiology, radiotherapy, and a lot of things are there also.
Therapy, yeah, correct.
Yeah, so radio diagnostic and radiotherapy, there are two different. Okay, got you. So again, I think that this also is not much aware for the medical students. It's completely new for them too. Okay, so let's put some there too. Right. So with that, I think let's go ahead with our discussion. The first thing is what we would like to know is why did you take radiology as a specialty? Was it your first choice? What was the inclination? Because as a medical student, we are not much exposed to radiology, right? Radio diagnostics, and yeah.
To be very honest, like when I had no, like when I finished my MBBS, hardly we are exposed to radiology aspect. Like even during MBBS, like say during when we give exams or during internship when we are posted, we are never posted in radiology as such. So as such, post MBBS, like when I was thinking of what to take next, I had no clarity. But I thought like dermatology is what I was preferring. I always wanted something like dermatology. But then, I started giving my entrance exams and stuff. After that, like, and pretty much was looking forward to writing these exams and stuff. And simultaneously, I was looking forward even to a management seat as well. Yeah, and when I got into KV, I studied my MD in KVG Medical College, Surya.
Okay.
So when I got in there for my seat, there was an option for radiology.
Okay.
Through management. So when I went there, and it's like it was all like they offered me radiology when I went for dermat seat wasn't there, and they offered me radiology, and there was like, do you want to take up since your marks have been pretty good in MBBS? They offered me like a radiology seat, like they specifically suggested that I should go for it, and. For me, it was entirely new, like nothing. I had no clarity of what exactly it was. It was just a glitz and glamour that people told. It's a high income field. And I did get attracted, to be honest, I did get attracted with that, that high income thing and, that the hype which was going about it at that point, and even now, in fact.
Yeah, exactly.
That is why I picked it up. Personally, like that is why I picked it up. But if I have to say why choose the specialty to be like, to the current specialty aspiring doctors out here, I would say that, any like, post MBBS student who's writing their entrance, I would say that if you are keen, like on problem solving aspect, like, basically what you do in radiology is like it's problem solving thing for clinicians. You get a case. What are clinical features, clinical symptoms, or clinical diagnosis they've given? You will have to confirm the same with your imaging modalities. That is what you do, basically. And it is also that if anyone who prefer, like not just like problem solving aspect, anyone who is good at where they are analytical, that is logical. Like you have to be very good at reasoning, logical, and even technical aspect of it. Basically, I would say radiologists or like radio diagnosis, like radiologists as such, they're nothing but software engineers of medical field.
Okay, got your point. Okay.
Yeah, it's more of a technical oriented. You're not like a limited contact with the patients you get. Like only during ultrasounds or only if you're an interventional radiologist, you get in touch with patients. But otherwise, you're reporting on monitors.
Got it. So yeah,
And
go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, that's what, like, apart from like these qualities which they have in themselves, which they identify,
Hmm.
it's also, I would say, that someone who would like a decent 9 to 5 job. You can
Hmm.
always choose your time. It's a, like, you can, it doesn't have like a less number of night duties, and less hectic night duties you can have, unlike
Yeah. So
obstinate.
coming to that point, one is the inclination. Of course, you went into the specialty more of not knowing anything, and from as normally the perception from what the world is, right? So we'll get into the point where what you feel at this point of time later on in the discussion. But at this point of time, as you also mentioned, no, what are the pros of being in the radio diagnostic field? What has been the advantages of being in this field for long? You've been for working for a long time now. So what do you think the pros of being a radio diagnostic MD?
Yeah, I would say that one thing is that since this field has not yet got saturated, it is
Mm-hmm.
not yet reached saturation. Job guarantees there.
Mm-hmm.
At least when I joined as well, it was, they said it's going to get saturated 5 years down the lane. But it's
Mm-hmm.
past 5 years that have completed, and still there are requirement of radiologists. Every now and then we get these job requirements and stuff, like still like
Mm-hmm.
medical colleges or diagnostic setup. There is a lack, or there is a a gap of like this, the
Mm-hmm.
need for radiologists.
Yeah.
And job security is always there, since they need like all the like the institutes or this thing, they require radiologists. Job security is always there. Apart from that, there are like very drastically improving recent advances happening here,
Mm-hmm.
be it like functional MRI, or a molecular imaging with in
Mm-hmm.
correlation with nuclear medicine people.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty good. Like the recent advances development is really pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I would say that.
So
Sports, and even the high income, I should not, like, I should also mention that there is good income
mhm.
provided. It depends on which sector you're working in, again, academic or private sector, like.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so one of the advantages of the discussion with you today is you have been after your MD in radio diagnostics. You have been working in an area of being an academic field of radiology, right? And you've also been working in corporate in the diagnostic field, and now working in the research field in NIMHANS. I think you have a very wide spectrum of experience from where you're coming from. Great. So with all these
I've covered the spectrum.
experiences, yeah. So with all these experiences, what has been the cons of being working in a radio diagnostic field?
Yeah, one thing I would say is that it does get monotonous over a
Hmm.
period.
Hmm.
Though now and then you get challenging cases, like you get that satisfaction of diagnosing a rare case or stuff. But over a period, it does get monotonous when you have to deal with only monitors, reporting on monitors. There is no much interaction, like
Hmm.
patient doctor interaction is not there, so it
Hmm.
does get monotonous over a period.
Hmm.
And also, since this newer teleradiology reporting that is happening, which is like we report cases in a remote place, like
Hmm.
whatever remote scans will go on, and those will be teleported, and we get to report those cases.
Yeah.
They've been cut. They've been like some amount of money is given to the clinicians who refer it.
Hmm.
So basically, this fee is it's based on referrals from other clinicians. You
Right.
can't handle individually. You need referrals.
Hmm.
Okay, so we are dependent on them.
Hmm.
So in like what happens in teleradiology is like the cuts, or like the amount they pay a radiologist is just like a mere amount when compared to the cuts given to the clinician.
Okay. Hmm.
And this is one thing. And also it is getting like eroded by other specialties. Like what
Hmm.
happens in the, like echo is being taken up cardiologist.
Right.
Interventional radiology, like as in take carotid stenting and all, is being taken
Hmm.
up by cardiologists.
Hmm.
And again, fetal medicine is taken up by obs-gynae people.
Hmm.
HST fetal medicine is taken up by obs-gynae people. So it's getting eroded like by other specialty people as well. Like that, these
Okay.
are like some of the cons that.
Right. So I think one of the major thing what you mentioned is as the field is growing, there are a lot of overlap between the different super specialities, which is also overlapping on your area. being radio diagnostic with the cardiologist, the cardiac surgeons, and also the fetal medicine in the OBG. They're overlapping and they're getting that particular area. And yeah, so that's one of the cons which you
And
also
also
mentioned.
would like to mention, I forgot to mention, sorry. I also would like to mention, over a period, you tend to forget your clinical aspect of it. You forget to prescribe, which is like, the basic thing of being a doctor. You just lose the touch of it over the years.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. So that happens as you mentioned, like rightly as you rightly mentioned, an analogy of you're almost like software engineer of a medical field. So rightly said. So I think over the years when you are much interacting with the machines, so somewhere down you miss the touch of the patient. I get that. Okay. So with looking into the pros and the cons of radio diagnostics, what has for whom this type of career pathway would you suggest?
Yeah, that's what as you already said, someone who enjoys problem solving, like,
Mm-hmm.
their analytical and technical skills need to be good because all
Mm-hmm.
these facts and, the image modifying things, they have to be very good in computers basically. And
Okay.
the typing aspect. I feel these days kids, like, they are pretty good at it, like,
Mm-hmm.
they almost know it in and out. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
someone who enjoys it more would like it more,
Right.
and also who enjoys limited amount of patient interaction. There'll be some doctors who would not want to interact much with the patient.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Them, it's like basically radiologists are someone who acts behind the scenes,
Mm-hmm.
just like anesthesiologists. These are people who act behind the scenes, like,
Mm-hmm.
so you get limited apart from ultrasounds and interventional radiology. General radiologists, it's like a less role or less interaction with patients.
Mm-hmm.
And also it suits someone who's self-motivated personality,
Mm-hmm.
because you need to keep updating yourself because of these recent advances. There is no one to push you. If you want to learn, you will have to put in it should be self-motivated.
Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because there are plenty number of exams that you need to give and, upgrade yourself.
Right. Got
Someone
that.
with these qualities would definitely enjoy it.
Got it. Got it. So we got a gist of it. So someone who is more of technically very well enjoys that being technical abilities, and also someone who would like less interaction with the patients. And yeah, so all the things which you mentioned, I think these are the areas where the students are very interested and they can fit this particular career path. Got that. So what would be the super specialization opportunities after MD radio diagnostics?
Yeah, we have like DM,
Mm-hmm.
3-year course of DM is there.
Mm-hmm.
Again, in specialty, DM courses right now it's available for neuroimaging and interventional radiology,
Mm-hmm.
cardiovascular imaging and vascular intervention, and interventional radiology. It's present in quite a few institutions all over India.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from this, there are fellowships. Fellowships ranges from weeks to months to a year.
Oh,
Maximum is
okay.
up to a year.
Mm-hmm.
So again, in the fellowships, again you have, based on all different systems, you have different fellowships. Be it
Mm-hmm.
musculoskeletal medicine,
Mm-hmm.
cardiovascular imaging, thoracic imaging, abdominal imaging, interventional radiology, then abdominal imaging,
Okay.
cross-sectional imaging. Like
Mm-hmm.
based on different breast imaging, women's imaging.
Mm-hmm.
So there are plenty number of fellowships available.
Okay.
Spread, like as I already said, it's spread over from a few weeks to a year.
Mm-hmm.
Got good exposure all over. Like, there are quite good places where you can, in India itself, it is good enough to learn.
Got it. Got it. So
And
with
I'm sorry.
yeah, go
I
ahead.
also would like to add this PDCC course as well,
Mm-hmm.
postdoctoral certificate course. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's for the year.
Mm-hmm.
It's there for neuroimaging, diagnostic neuroimaging,
Mm-hmm.
and interventional radiology as well.
Got it. Got it. Right. So of course, we understand that there are multiple opportunities after MD radio diagnostics, so that the persons can get super specialization or the core specialties, whatever they are more interested in. Right. Got that. So now, once a student completes MD radio diagnostics, what are the job opportunities? You have been in different domains already. So with that experience, what are the job opportunities available for MD radio diagnostic person in India?
Yeah, for like that's what you can select either academic sector, like
Mm-hmm,
a public sector, or a private sector. So
mm-hmm,
again, in public sector, like basically academic institutions, that is medical colleges, you can get into medical colleges, and or in private sector, you have again corporate or diagnostic, corporate hospitals or diagnostic centers.
right.
And apart from all of these, there is always research.
Yeah.
Okay. So coming to academic, this thing, you academic, say medical colleges, it's more of service oriented,
Mm.
and you get to like teach people. If you're a type of a person who likes to teach, who enjoys teaching, it's
Mm-hmm.
always said that a person who teaches learns twice.
Yeah.
So when you teach, it's like more of service oriented, as well as you get to upgrade yourself academically very nicely.
Mm-hmm.
But only con out here in academic aspect is that the pay is less,
Yeah.
which will probably come in further. We can
Mm-hmm.
elaborate about it in
Yeah.
further
Yeah. Yeah.
coming.
Right.
And yeah,
So.
coming to private, yeah, corporate aspect, corporate hospitals. Corporate hospitals is that like you get to learn their methodology very nicely. Most of them are NABH accredited.
Mm-hmm.
Their approach is very nice. The way
Mm-hmm.
they approach the
Mm-hmm.
cases is good. But what the thing out and the salary is also pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, the con out there is that the pressure, the work pressure is a little high because you have to reach a target.
Mm-hmm.
They would have a set amount of like target cases, and we'll have to, reach that. And they are not academic oriented. They're more of patient oriented
Yeah.
type hospitals. And diagnostic centers you get very good pay.
Mm-hmm.
You get
Mm-hmm.
really good pay, and you get to learn communication skills better because
Yeah.
whereas in academic, say in medical college or in corporate hospitals, you have a set number of doctors, set number of clinicians. You know who wants what. You know what, like how what do they expect out of you? But whereas in a diagnostic center, it's just all the clinicians all over the like multiple medical colleges, clinicians they practice in the evening,
Mm-hmm.
and that is what we get the referrals from. And you develop your communication skills better.
Right.
Apart from the monetary benefits,
Mm-hmm.
you you know how to handle things.
Right.
That's a plus
Right.
point.
Mm. Got
And
that.
yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
research. I would not. How can I not to mention about my research?
Yeah. Of
Research
course. Yeah.
has, yeah. Since I was lucky enough to get into this research field, and it's been my passion that I wanted to get into research aspect of it, it is less likely that people would opt for it because the financial gains are very less out here.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to learn everything in depth, and basically all what others, as in like the academic or the private sectors, get to implement is what has happened in research. If there is some invention or some path-breaking identification or
Mm-hmm.
research or something happens, it helps the fraternity as a whole.
Right.
So people who are interested, like doctors who are interested in it, should always opt for it. But less likely with people choose it because the financial gains are very less. I'm sure many would like want to take it if scientific research is backed with financial gain.
Got it. Got it. So these are the opportunities available after MD radio diagnostics in India, right? So what are the opportunities and how the scope is in abroad?
Yeah, coming to abroad, as such, like pretty much most of them would prefer either US or European countries,
Mm-hmm.
UK or European. Considering them, in US and all, you need your MLE to go work there. It depends on whether you want to settle down over there. Only Canada is the only country without which provides either fellowship or job opportunities without a MLE.
Mm-hmm.
And European countries, you need to have an exam. You need to pass exams called FRCR,
Mm-hmm.
Fellowship in Clinical Radiology.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Fellowship in Royal College of Radiology it is, and
Mm-hmm.
also FRCR you need to pass, or EDIR, European
Mm-hmm.
Diploma in Radiology. These two
Mm-hmm.
things, either of these two things, you need to pass. Then only they will recruit you, either be it for fellowship again or for job opportunity. Apart from these two main continents, Arabian countries provide good opportunity to Indians.
Okay.
The salary is also pretty good out there. Again, but for Arabian countries, FRCR is sufficient. If you're passed out your FRCR, you have higher credential and you have better opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And in Southeast Asian countries, Singapore is a better place for Indians where you get where you can get to do fellowships, or even the job opportunities are good out there. Australia, even the Australia has got their own radiology board of exams, which you
Mm-hmm.
need to clear fast, which you need to clear to work out there.
Got it. So I think you touched upon all the most of the countries which popularly students travel for their post MD jobs or the any higher educations. Great. So with what you shared in India and abroad, I think pretty much we got an idea on how the job opportunity and the scope of radio diagnostic is after we complete that MS degree, MD degree, right? So now coming to the main point of the radiology is where the finance. What is the earning potential of radiology, and what's your comment? So we have a lot of things heard about it and a lot of lucrative things. So what's your comment? You being in that field, also in academic, corporate, diagnostic, and research. What do you see? How do you see that particular aspects of career?
I'm sure all of you would be on yours right now. The
Yeah.
thing is that, yeah, coming to as a SR when you join, the senior resident, it starts with a decent pay of 60 to 90K. It depends from state to state.
Yeah.
Again, in Andhra and Kerala and all, the pay is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But in Karnataka, it's pretty low out here. It's somewhere around 60 to 90K to start with. And like once you reach up to the the topmost HOD level or something, like you will get around 2.5, 2 to
Yeah.
2.5 is what you see.
Mm-hmm.
And they give you that extra benefit. When I was working in JSS, I was
Mm-hmm.
given radiologists were given the extra benefit of 10K,
Mm-hmm.
like apart from other SRs. They used
Mm-hmm.
to get around 55. They used to get around 65.
Mm-hmm.
So extra benefit of being a radiologist, like that monetary aspect, because that requirement is more. They want, because many people would opt for diagnostic setup or corporate setup because of the monetary benefit. So to attract them out here, that is what the benefits they're getting. This is what is in academic setting.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to corporate hospitals, corporate again it starts with around 1.2, a decent 1.2 to 1.7, somewhere between in this range.
Mm-hmm.
Varying from hospitals to hospitals and based on
Yeah.
your experiences, you start with it. And it can reach up to 3.5 lakhs in
Mm-hmm.
corporate
Corporate
hospitals,
hospital.
as
Okay.
you experience.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And diagnostic center, you get a very good pay. You get
Mm-hmm.
a very good pay. To start with, you get around 1.5, 1.7 it starts
Mm-hmm.
for a initial passed out person.
Yeah.
Okay, so it starts at somewhere around 1.5, 1.7. It goes up to 2.5 as well for a starter, like just
Okay.
passed out person. And if you are ready to go to remote places like Kerala or Nagpur, Pune, and many places out there, like for these diagnostic centers, you can even start with somewhere between 2.5 to 3 lakhs
Okay.
for a starter.
Mm-hmm.
And it can always reach based on the time you dedicate to it. For us, time is money. For
Yeah.
radiologists, it's like how much you're willing to, put your time into it, you can earn that way. So
Mm-hmm.
you get to choose your timings. So that is
Mm-hmm.
like, if you want to earn, you can always choose your job time.
Mm-hmm.
And research pay right now, like it's somewhere like around 70 to 90 is the
Mm-hmm.
range.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, no,
70 to
very well. I think you summarized the entire earning potential of an MD radiologist in different domains. right? So that's wonderfully understood. Now, also you mentioned the pay would be directly proportionate to the amount of time which you're putting into, right? So that brings us to a wonderful point. How is the work-life balance of a radio diagnostic person? So, what is the normal working hours and how is the work-life balance?
I would say personally, like for me, it's really good. Like, it's got a very good work-life balance.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it depends on I've chosen something for a 9 to 5 job. Like initially when I started, when monetary benefits were the concern, to most of them, like most like post after like these long years of MBBS and MD, you would have been dependent on your parents, and you would want to
Yeah.
be independent financially. And most of them are who taken through entrance are always like middle class. Most of them middle class
Mm-hmm.
people who would want to get their monetary benefits and become independent.
Yeah.
So you would opt for something that they can like earn well by
Mm-hmm.
dedicating their time entirely to it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's like mornings you can always work in academic setups, and evening go to diagnostic centers. That option is always there.
Mm-hmm.
Though they always say that medical colleges always quote that you're not supposed to work apart from the
Yeah.
medical setup. People do work from they go for freelancing to different diagnostic center, collect the cases, and even on
Mm-hmm.
Sundays go to this, like villages or rural setup where they can collect the cases and do this thing. But again, how much time you want to dedicate? It's like it's
Mm-hmm.
entirely dependent on you. You want
Mm-hmm.
good pay, you will have to be ready to put in a lot of time and this thing. But only thing is that the night duties, as I already said, is less hectic, at least when compared to these obs kind people.
Got it. So now you've been in no, radio diagnostic field for so long, and how do you see the future of the field of radio diagnostic? What is the pace of its growth, and what do you see in next 5 to 10 years happening in this particular field?
I would say the future is in fact very good
Mm-hmm.
for radiology because the recent advances that are happening
Mm-hmm.
is tremendous out here
Okay.
because of uh, like say many things like molecular imaging or functional MRIs, many things that are coming up. Every day there's always a new thing which is getting added up. That's the
Okay.
same with most of the medical fields, I should say.
Yeah.
But it's more tremendous out here
Right.
because still it is under evaluated as specialty, I should say.
Got it.
And yeah, that should be good.
Right. So so this covers, I think, most of our no, structured discussion, where we looked into the career aspect in particular and the pros and cons and financial and the opportunities, all those things. So now let's come to you personally and see, let us give us a peek into your life, and we would just want to know how no, did you what was your what is this process and the things you took from the days of MBBS till now, and how like you also mentioned you have been in academic and then moving to corporate, then moving to diagnostic fields, and then coming to research. Now how did you make those jumps, changes, and what did you learn, some experience from the from your life, so that you could share with us? It will be a good insight for us.
Yeah. Basically, I post MD. I was in somewhere during the end of my third year in MD. I realized that I somewhere have this passion for neuroradiology.
Mm-hmm.
It's more challenging, is what I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's what like I initially wanted to take up DM,
Mm-hmm.
but lacked interest in intervention aspect of it. I was not really keen on the intervention aspect of it and wanted only the diagnostic part or something like the research aspect. So I was not very confident about it because the entire crowd in radiology is into general radiology. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like a little apprehensive to make that move, and I started with that's what I thought. Let me gain some confidence in general. Let me have a good grip in general radiology. so that even if it doesn't work out in future, my research or that neuro aspect of it doesn't work out, I still have a pretty good grip in general radiology, is what I thought, and got into a medical college, and the exposure was really good out in JSS where I work.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to shift to Bangalore, and here, I was not uh, really keen on medical college, and I wanted to explore a corporate setup as well, like how
Yeah.
corporate setup is, you know, till I get into my research field. Like I was keen that I wanted to get into NIMHANS as well. I
Mm-hmm.
was like thinking either NIMHANS or HCG was in my options. So and I joined into corporate. Till then, I thought, let me get a grip of this, and corporate is what I worked in. And again, work pressure is a lot in corporate. It's not that pretty easy. And for those reasons, I had to move out into a diagnostic setup. And yeah, diagnostics and setup again. I like exposure was really good, and yeah, and luckily by then I got my NIMHANS job opportunity and moved to research.
Great. That's been a wonderful journey which you have taken with a lot of experience gaining in the process. Got it. Right. So now, if you look back with all these things, what has been one of the challenge being in the radio diagnostic field?
The challenge I would say is, as you also know, it's like during MBBS, we're not exposed to radiology at all.
Mm-hmm.
So when you come out and you join here, it is like, again, you're starting MBBS from scratch. It's a new field altogether. There's nothing what you have learned in MBBS that you could be using in radiology. As in, not solely you can use it. As in the
Mm-hmm.
clinical aspects, the clinical, you are seeing with the images, the correlation clinical symptoms with the diagnostic aspect, that ways you can correlate. But
Mm-hmm.
when the imaging is reporting the gray and white scale, it's like, it's vast. You
Mm-hmm.
have to get used to it and you have to develop those skills.
Mm-hmm.
So it happens over a period that you have to develop it, and that is quite challenging. Like especially for ultrasound or be it
Mm-hmm.
interventional radiology,
Right.
you'll have to develop it over a period. Apart from
Got
that, it is pretty smooth.
got you, got you. So there's a pretty much a big learning curve when it comes to you're in the black and white world most of the time. So yeah, understanding that and getting the used to it, it becomes a bit challenging coming from the world of clinical, right? Got that.
And more
So
and more, so I would like to add up that since we'll have to be covering all the subjects,
mhm.
I think we'll only be leaving out pharmacology and community medicine. Apart from
Okay,
that, most of it is covered.
covered. Okay, okay. You go,
For
you
example.
okay, I get your world. Right. So you'll be reading all these subjects again, going through it again in a little different manner. But yeah, so it's like you're doing an MBBS again. Got your point. Right. So that's been one of the challenge. Okay. So having all these challenges in place, still, what has been the best part of being a radiologist?
Uh, I would say that, when you diagnose, it's like since it's the clinical diagnosis they give, they, extract the history and examine them, they come to a conclusion. But you will be the first person, predominantly, you will be the first person to come to a diagnosis. When you arrive to a diagnosis, like for a particular case, the satisfaction it gives, or the patient, at least the patient gets that benefit out of it. It is somewhere, it feels good. Even like say, for example, when you're doing ultrasound, you pick up a stone in ureter. It's quite difficult in ultrasound because of the bowel gas shadow and stuff. It's really good when the patient can avoid the next modality being CT. So when somewhere you can give that to patients from your side, there is some amount of that job satisfaction it gives you. That is really good, and even yeah, and the income as well.
So I think one of the best part of what you mentioned is the satisfaction. So being more of precise in the diagnostic and the final diagnostic tools which you'll be using for the diagnosis of the reconfirming the clinical diagnosis and making the
Correct.
patient not suffer more in terms going into other diagnostic categories, right?
Exactly.
So I think that satisfaction and still being on the back end of the stage still you feel that satisfaction that you made a difference in the life of the person or the patient, right?
Though you're
Wonderful,
not
wonderful.
directly recognized,
Right.
though most you're not directly recognized by patients,
Hmm. Yeah.
this somewhere plays a role, and still, you get that
Benefit of
happiness out.
advantage. Got it. And also happiness out of that. Great. So right. So with I think we are at the end of the entire discussion. So discussing all these things, it's been wonderful way of interaction. So what would be your guidance for the young upcoming doctors who are looking towards radio diagnostic as their career pathway?
Uh, I would not I would say, like, with all this brief overview that I've given about radio diagnosis, the pros and cons, the career opportunities, the earning potential, and the overall view of radiology, I would say choose what suits you the best. Figure out,
Hmm.
have a self-awareness about yourself. Figure out don't do what just because the other person is doing or other person is telling you to do. Do it only because you are good at it and you want to do it. Because when you want to do it, automatically the quality somewhere improves. And in medical field, the quality should never be compromised. I feel there should always be, because it's ultimately directly proportional to the patient care.
Hmm.
It's like what you do is dependent. Forget about you will also have to be a benefiting part. First has to be you, then has to be like patients. I totally agree. But we'll have to look everything in terms of patient care, because it's a totally a noble profession,
Hmm.
and it has to be more of service oriented. So what you choose, whichever specialty you choose,
Hmm.
be at like good at it. Be have a good quality out, and is what I would suggest them.
Wow, that's really inspiring. Dr. Shunga, the way you have taken your career pathway with all the different domains you entered and having that focus from your MD days that you want to get into something into neuro and something into research and exploring all the domains, and then now getting into NIMHANS. Of course, everyone knows that NIMHANS is a very premier institute, and being part of that particular institute, gives a lot of value where you have value the way you are, and also the dedication and the passion which you have put in to reach there. So we are really impressed the way you have taken the career pathway and all the contribution which you're making for the world of the radiology, right? The radio diagnostic wing, being in a research, in particular in NIMHANS. Really, we are inspired and hope the students are also very inspired the way you have put across the radio diagnostic field as then one of the noble professions which they can get into, and with the passion specifically which you mentioned. Thank you so much, Dr. Shunga, and we are so happy for having you on this program today.
Thank you, Dr. Sajjan. I am really very thankful that you've given me this wonderful opportunity to, put forward my views about my field. Uh, Thank you.
Brother, thank you.
Isn't this valuable to know the career pathway of a specialist? Hear from experiences of 50 plus consultant doctors from across India. Get an insight into 22 plus medical specialties and make an informed career decision which will shape your future. Join India's first of a kind online medical specialty summit exclusively designed for medical students. Visit our website drsajjanacademy.com to know more. Don't miss out on this golden opportunity.